everyone, welcome to Baby Anime. Hope your day is going well. Other than that, let's begin. So today we're going to talk about Addicted, the music video, as well as the time Courage Cowardly Dog tackle domestic violence, right? We're going to be exploring the Femme Fatale and like who was the Femme Fatale? Does these people count as Femme Fatales? And just looking at the identity behind that. This is a moment to remind you, just don't forget to like and subscribe. Other than that, let's truly begin. For those who may be sensitive to the topic, this is a trigger warning, so feel free to click off the video. Before we begin, I'm going to go over a synopsis of each video, first starting with Courage Cowardly Dog and then proceeding with Addicted. So if you don't want to see the synopsis, want to get straight into the analysis, skip 5 minutes ahead and then you should be around that area. Other than that, let's start this video. So we begin with this episode of Courage Cowardly Dog called The Mask. This episode is about a cat named Kitty stumbling upon a place in the middle of nowhere. She finds Eustace and Miriam, and also she sees Courage. She has a passion for hating dogs at this point. Courage was not aware of that, so Courage is like, why do you hate me? And so he's just like really confused about that. Little did he know that Kitty was really mourning her friend, the loss of her friend. Even though her friend was alive, but she was mourning about the loss of her friend. When sitting at the dinner table with Eustace and Miriam, she tells the story of how she tried to help her friend escape Mad Dog, but how it was futile and that his gang threatened to kill her and her friend. So at that point, she ran away to like basically leave the city, so she was running for her life. And then so Courage is put in a situation eventually because he thinks that Kitty's a monster, danger to Eustace and Miriam. So he goes on an adventure to save Bunny. So he finds that Bunny is in a very abusive relationship with Mad Dog. Mad Dog wants her to be happy. Bunny is seen physically very striking and very fearful of Mad Dog at the moment. And then at some point in the story, Courage defeats Mad Dog's gang and saves Bunny, right? And there's a part in there, like I wanted to mention that like Mad Dog is saying like, if I find you with Kitty, I'm going to bury you and Bunny. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was just like, wow, that is wild. And so basically in the end, Courage defeats Mad Dog and Kitty and Bunny run away, right? And they run away together as best friends, right? Of course, there's a queer undertone to this as well. I thought that was really interesting to see a very like queer undertone to it, where they're like, you know, because back in the day you couldn't say, I mean even today you can't even put on like TV shows like queer cartoon characters. So I thought it was really cool to see like Bunny and Kitty have like this like unspoken like bond, and that somehow Bunny ended up with like a man, and which is like Bunny can be definitely like bisexual, pansexual, etc. Kitty can be whatever she wants as well, and you know, but it just seems like it's like some type of lesbian relationship going on between them, and Mad Dog is getting in the way of that. And also I wanted to give a great comparison, because you ever seen Addicted? So in the video, so we have Cherry and we have Angel, right? So Angel is a stripper. She is like down on her luck, right? She's addicted to drugs and she's in a very abusive relationship with someone who may be her manager or be someone that owns the club or something. And she's in this very abusive relationship with him, and she wants to leave, but she's just afraid of being free in a sense. Also, I think in general she probably can't leave and she doesn't have anywhere else to go, right? And so she's dealing with the abuse that she's getting from the manager and or like club owner, as well as trying to figure out how to get rid of these feelings that she's feeling at the moment. And so she uses drugs as an outlet, right? And then we have Cherry, who is her friend or lover. Is not necessarily explicitly said, right? But Cherry comes in and she is trying to encourage her to leave, but also she stays as well because she's stuck in the same position that Angel is in a sense too, but a little bit better than that. And so she's also in Angel's support, right? And I think that even, and I bring these up because I think of these like dynamic duos of women often seen as like femme fatales, or seen as like these women who are like men are afraid of, right? But I think that these archetypes can definitely be explored a little bit more. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Femme Fatale. So a Femme Fatale, as you see on the Wikipedia side over here, in some places, like a Femme Fatale is sometimes called a man-eater, a vamp. It's basically a woman that is beautiful and mysterious and seductive, who charms and lures like men into compromising positions, right? Femme fatale comes from the French phrase fatal woman, which is basically a woman that tries to achieve her hidden purpose by using feminine wiles such as beauty, charm, and sexual allure. Yeah, so I thought this was really interesting of it, because I was like thinking, as you know, what we're talking about today, we're talking a little bit about femme fatales and some of the characters we're looking into. I don't necessarily think these characters are femme fatales in general, because femme fatales are like sexually alluring and like they put men in bad positions. However, I still think that it's worth exploring that idea of femme fatales, because I think that to the men that they are in relationships with, they may be considered femme fatales, right? They are putting those men in compromising positions, right? And they can put those men in compromising positions, right? Say for instance, if Angel leaves the lifestyle that she lives, as well as if she tries to escape that, she would put her abuser in a compromising position, right? You know, as well as Bunny. If Bunny leaves Mad Dog, she will put Mad Dog in a compromising position, right? These are some of the things I want to explore, because I think that maybe femme fatales aren't as bad as we think they are, and we're here today to explore that. So I picked like 2 characters that would probably be considered somewhat to the men in their lives that they're fighting against to be femme fatales, right? But usually when I see femme fatales films and movies, usually the women are fighting against oppression, male oppression, right? They usually are fighting against patriarchy, right? They're fighting to live their own lives. They're fighting to protect another woman. They're fighting to do all these things, and using the sexual allure or the beauty that they have in order to get what they want, because that's what was valued from them in society, right? And not saying women can't be violent or women cannot cause harm, but I think when we think about femme fatales, I think that plenty of people think of like a violent woman that uses her allure to, you know, compromise men, when in all actuality, I feel like a femme fatale is more of someone who is not just using her allure to compromise men. It just, her allure inconveniences men because she wants something else, right? And I think that that's something that's really interesting in a lot of femme fatale stories, and looking into the relationships that they have with men. Like even when we have Thelma and Louise, like Thelma and Louise is this like movie that was made a long time ago, but it was about these 2 women who, one woman was almost sexually assaulted. They killed the men that almost sexually assaulted them, and then they leave, right? They leave and they go into hiding, and they go on a run. And so because they go on a run, like now the police are after them and they're trying to like find them and arrest them and stuff like that. But these, you know, I guess like I wanted to, in this video, explore these stories of women are perceived as these alluring, you know, illustrious women who come in to ruin men's lives, to explore and to say, hey, what if the men are ruining their lives, right? And this is the only way they see fit to fight back, right? Because in the end of Addicted, right, we see Cherry and Angel blow up the club, right? They leave, they blow up the club, they don't come back, right? We see at the end of Courage Cowardly Dog, Mag Dog's gang is taken down. Mag Dog gets hit by a train, right? So because these women were met with violence, they had to escape with violence, right? And I think that even when we think of narratives of femme fatales as, you know, when we think of domestic violence victims who snap and harm or murder their significant other, right? I think that we have to keep that in mind, is that a lot of these women are trapped in this situation and they don't see no way out other than through violence, right? And I think that the femme fatale narrative is like, oh, there's alluring woman who tricks men or compromises men and put them into traps, right? It's not necessarily true. And I feel like most of it is based off of women trying to gain and assert power in their own way. And they're using their looks that men value so much to get what they want in that situation, right? A woman fighting for her friend to be free. It was like a movie that came out a couple years ago called Monster. In the film, you have this woman who's like really like, due to her trauma with men, she's considered a femme fatale, right? She was murdering a lot of the men on the highway who propositioned her or who try to sexually assault her. And so I don't know. I don't necessarily think she's a bad person for like hurting her abusers. However, I do think that hurting men that had nothing to do with the situation that she was experiencing is also very problematic as well, right? And I think that we see that with Kitty from Courage the Cowardly Dog, where she is taking out her anger and her rage on Courage, which Courage is like a dog, and she's just like taking it out on him because, you know, in the story, basically the dogs represent men. And so she's taking out this anger and this rage on this on Courage, because she doesn't know how to express her own oppression by patriarchy. Because I think a lot of times we don't talk about how a lot of times beautiful women are used and exploited as like arm candy and supposed to be seen as empty vessels, right? And because they're supposed to be seen as empty vessels, a lot of times they're not supported by people. They're supposed to just be like, just to be there. What are their dreams and what are their wants are never explored, right? And so when a woman's like, hey, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, this relationship does not serve me, right? I think that the Femme Fatale narrative of women trying to escape like domestic abuse relationships, right? Or helping other women to escape domestic abuse relationships, this comes out as like a Femme Fatale, right? However, I'm not going to say there are not women who harm men on purpose because they are angry or they're upset or for no reason, right? I'm not going to say that every woman who harmed a man has a lustrous story behind them and, you know, had a reason for doing it. And I'm not going to say every victim that a woman has harmed that was a man deserved it, right? I'm not saying that. However, I am saying that it's important for us to explore the narrative of Femme Fatale. It's important for us to look at women that we see in media, right? And the women that we see in films, right, and in cartoons, look at them more as people who are trying to escape their situation. We should rethink what Femme Fatales look like, right, and what Femme Fatales mean. I think that that's something that I would love for people to challenge themselves on, because, you know, people will be like, Marilyn Monroe is a Femme Fatale. Like, the Femme Fatale is definitely a woman that is asserting her own power, and that is very offensive to the patriarchy, right? And it's like she threatens the patriarchy. She's smart, she's cunning, she's able to threaten the patriarchy, right? And that's what Kitty and Cherry are, right? You also have women who are powerless in the situation, such as Bunny, and Angel, who are not able to escape their situation on their own, right? They don't have cherry bombs to blow up stuff. They needed assistance in that, or they don't have the autonomy to get their own freedom, right? And so I think that that's something that we should definitely explore in that, where it's like, so we have the dynamic duo of like domestic violence victims, right? Victims who take their freedom into their own hands, and then you have other victims who are powerless to what's going on, right? And just feel defeated and trying to work it out the best way they can, right? Which you can say both people are doing, but I think one is like, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna fight it back, I'm not gonna take this anymore. And you have someone else that's like, I'm just gonna numb myself to what's going on and I'm just gonna let it happen, right? Because they feel utterly powerless for the situation, right? And even, you know, like even in Courage the Cowardly Dog, we see Bunny being like very fearful and scared to leave, right? And then I think that that's something to explore too. But with that said, this has been Sway Bay and Anime. Other than that, peace.